وصحبه في كل لمحات ونفس بعداد كل معلوم لك.
Cikram. Assalamualaikum, Cikram. Islamic depositors and takaful certificate holders, strengthening the resilience of Islamic financial institutions since January 2022, overseeing finance, operations, and stakeholder engagement function. Prior to this, he had been involved in various areas of operation in the capacity as the Chief Financial Officer, as well as taking on an insurance and advisory role as the Chief Internal Auditor. So he has gained extensive experience in various roles with several organizations in the areas of external and internal auditing, risk management, office operations, administration, accounting, and finance operation, treasury, and fund management as well. And more recently, he has also been involved in strategic leadership, management, and stakeholder engagement roles. So that is basically in PIDM. Apart from that, Encik Ikram holds a Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Melbourne, Australia. He's a chartered accountant, member of the Malaysian Institute of Accountant, and a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Islamic Finance. He's also a fellow of the Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand, Certified Public Accountant of MICPA, and Asian Certified Public Accountant. He currently chairs the Education Board and Sustainability Committee of MIA and was the former chair of the Professional Accountants in Business Committee, the Integrated Reporting Committee, and the Sustainability Blueprint Task Force of MIA. And Cik Ikram was also a council member of MIA between
things or information, particularly about the role of PIDM and how we play the role of protecting the Islamic depositors and takaful certificate holders in our Islamic financial system. But let me just start by a quick question as to, when was the last time we thought about what would happen if our savings was lost? If something goes wrong with our financial system, with our banking system, with our takaful operators. So most of us wouldn't have thought about this, and sometimes we may think about this a bit too late if something has already gone wrong, and particularly we have not heard in this part of the jurisdiction or the region that many institutions or financial institutions failure, especially in Malaysia. We have not had failures of banking institutions for a very long time, but it happens in some of our jurisdictions nearby, particularly in Indonesia and whatnot. We have seen a lot of small rural banks failing, and I'll be sharing with you some of the more bigger ones most recently. So that is really why Perbadanan Insurance Deposit Malaysia, or PIDM as we are known, exists. And I'll be sharing with you as to how this protection system works and how that matters in our Islamic financial system. But let me just start off with something that most of you who are probably in this field of Islamic finance would already know, why Islamic finance matters today, particularly. As you know, there's meeting the growing demands of Sharia compliance financial services. Hence why, in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of the booming of the Islamic finance, especially Islamic banking. A lot of the financial institutions now are pushing for Islamic first strategies and this applies not only just to those who are the Muslims, but it is for the depositing public in general. And Islamic finance has become very competitive in the whole financial system space. And why so? And that's also coming to the next point, whereby Islamic finance is particularly known as being the ethical and responsible finance mechanism that upholds those principles. And because of that, growing need as well, right? It promotes financial inclusions for those who particularly may not have gone into the financial system, particularly because of religious or ethical beliefs. Islamic finance, of course, we also know, also further strengthens the resilience of the financial system, particularly by offering various products which are of risk-sharing models, right? And of course, more importantly, in Islamic finance, is important for it to have the trust for it to boom. And this is where PIDM's role comes in, right? Whereby for the public to have confidence in the financial systems, particularly for the banking industry as well as the takaful industry, there needs to be a financial safety net for the financial consumers. And I'll explain on that a bit more. But let me just talk a bit more about whilst Islamic financial institutions have been booming, and generally financial institutions are known to be very strong and robust, it doesn't prevent from banking institutions, including Islamic banking institutions, from failing. If despite all these heavy regulations, and there's multiple factors, and the most recent ones that we have heard is in respect of the Silicon Valley Bank, or SVB. Let me just share with you a quick video, just to recap a bit about what had happened with regards to SVB.
A rough week for the banking industry.
The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, the second biggest bank collapse in U.S. history.
The Silicon Valley Bank collapsed on March 10 after a run on deposits doomed the tech-focused lenders' plans to raise fresh capital. This prompted U.S. regulators to step in.
Capital and was planning to do that the next day. The investors completely freaked out, sold off the stock, and that reassures their investors and their depositors. The key thing,
for a number of reasons, as was highlighted, rapid growth, but particularly poor risk management and a mismatch of their business model and balance sheet strategies, particularly liquidity, which ended up getting them into liquidity problem, actually. And because of that, the depositors panicked very quickly and withdrew funds, and that really put the bank into immediate stress and ultimately almost into insolvency from a liquidity perspective. They were short and they couldn't fulfill their financial obligations. And because of that, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation of FDIC in the US was the deposit insurer in the US, equivalent to us, shut down SVB on March 10th. And between March 11 to March 12, FDIC protected deposits and set up a temporary bank, of which then they managed until SVB's asset was sold to First Citizen Bank on March 26. So what this particular incident basically gives us or teach us was that the importance of the deposit insurance system, or the protection to the depositors for banking system, especially in the event of banking failure. So in the event, or in the case of SVB, FDIC had taken steps to ensure that they dealt with that financial institutions and all the depositors were protected, all their monies were safe despite that the bank had failed. It prevented bigger widespread of depositors panic and mass withdrawals from other banks, although there were a few series of other very vulnerable banks also went into trouble, but it didn't spread across the whole financial system in the US. And it stabilized the financial system at the end. And at the end of the day, it boosts the confidence of the depositing public in the US. So this is really an example of why protection to depositors is important, and it comes in the form of the deposit insurance system. And this is what we also have in Malaysia. And I will share with you a bit more about the history of how deposit insurance have came about. Next slide. Asian financial crisis, Bank Negara Malaysia had come up with a financial blueprint to further strengthen the financial system in Malaysia. And one of the key recommendations was the establishment of the deposit insurance system in Malaysia. And that's how PIDM, or we also known as Malaysian Deposit Insurance Corporation internationally, was born in August or September 2005 when our act was enacted, and we started operations from September 2005. Within that region also, we saw a few of our other neighboring countries, such as Indonesia, who was born just a month after, Hong Kong, Switzerland, Singapore, as well as Thailand and China, right? Next. But when it comes to Islamic deposit insurance particularly, there's still quite a number of jurisdictions that have yet to fully implement or embrace this protection system. Despite having a Islamic banking or financial system in their respective jurisdictions. The only one that we have noted thus far that have a full Islamic deposit insurance system is Somalia, Sudan, as well as us in Malaysia. But in Malaysia, we run a dual system because of our dual financial system. We run side by side together with the conventional banking system, but we also run a specific Islamic deposit insurance system as well. So we are known to have a dual deposit insurance system. Similarly with UAE, Jordan, and Pakistan. Some of the other high market share jurisdiction, though, whilst they have the Islamic banking system, they do not have specifically an Islamic specific deposit insurance system. These jurisdictions such as Saudi Arabia, Brunei, and Kuwait, but they may have some state protection schemes, which generally applies, right? And for Iran particularly as well, they have 100% Islamic banking, but there's no protection system that we know. So there are still gaps in the growth of the deposit protection systems around the world. And whilst we see that, these jurisdictions may have big market share, but their systems in terms of their protection systems may not be as advanced as how we have put in place. And countries such as Iran, for example, now who's going through some turmoil in the Middle East, their banking system would be at stake as well if they do not have such protection system and the banking system get into trouble. So Malaysia actually stands out as one of the regional leaders in the Islamic deposit insurance system space, particularly where we integrate our deposit insurance system for both the conventional and the Islamic. And I will go into a bit more about why and how our role is and who we are specifically. So PIDM is the sole Malaysia deposit insurer established, as I mentioned just now, in 2005 to protect depositors and support financial stability. And our key role is to basically administer the deposit insurance system. And we have also resolution powers whereby we can resolve failed or troubled financial institutions promptly. I will explain that a bit more. We are established as an independent statutory body under PIDM Act. And one of our key mandate also is to ensure that we contribute to the financial stability by being part of one of the key financial safety net players with a few other key safety net players, particularly our Ministry of Finance as well as Bank Negara Malaysia. In terms of our mandate, specifically as set out in the Act or PIDM Act, next slide. We have 4 specific mandates that has been spelled out in our PIDM Act. The first one is to administer the deposit insurance system. But as I mentioned, or I may have mentioned in passing as well, from 2010 onwards, we have also expanded our mandate to protect the takaful and insurance industry by administering the takaful and insurance benefits protection scheme or system, right? So we run both the protection for depositors as well as takaful certificate holders from an Islamic standpoint. Our second mandate really relates to the system itself, which is we provide protection specifically against loss of deposits for our member banks and takaful and operators in respect of any banking or insurance or takaful operators failure. Our third mandate is to also provide incentive for our member institutions, which are the banks as well as the insurance and takaful operators, for sound risk management in the financial system. And how does this work? Is that for our system, we do charge a differential premiums or levies to our member institutions based on their risk profile. And therefore, if you are of higher risk, you will be paying higher fees or premiums and levies. And therefore, that will incentivize or encourage for these institutions to improve their risk management to the best possible so that they can get the best possible risk rating and pay the lowest fees in respect of the protection system. That's one of the ways that how this system that we administer incentivize the sound risk management for our member institutions, apart from setting specific regulations and also supporting Bank Negara's primary regulatory framework. Yeah, and the third and also very important, most important mandate is to promote and contribute to the financial system stability. And doing so, in fulfilling all our mandates, we are to act in a manner that minimize the cost to the financial system, right? So really our mandate is actually quite huge. The responsibility is quite big, although one can say that, the primary role of the regulator still remains with Bank Negara Malaysia. But if something happens, this is when PIDM comes in and steps in. If that happens, we need to ensure that we are able to fulfill our mandate. And in carrying out and administering our protection system, we are also part of the overall financial safety net, which basically leads to the last mandate here on contributing to financial stability. When we talk about financial safety net, next slide. So Malaysian financial system is safeguarded by what we call a financial system safety net. And the financial system safety net in Malaysia comprises of three primary agencies, which is the Ministry of Finance, who oversees the fiscal and policy and financial governance within the country, which includes effecting and safeguarding the financial system. Bank Negara Malaysia specifically is the primary supervisor and primary regulator of our financial institutions, and they set the primary rules and regulation as to how our financial institutions, both the banking as well as the insurance and takaful industry, how they are to operate. And PIDM's role is to basically provide the financial consumer protection system and manages the resolution of any failed member institution. And basically, this is how the financial safety net works in our country. MOF sets out the broad economic factor. Bank Negara manages and regulates the banking industry primarily. But if something happens to the financial institutions, particularly the banks and the insurance industry, this is where the financial consumers are protected by PIDM. Yeah. PIDM particularly has dual key roles, as I mentioned just now briefly, whereby we provide the protection to our depositors and policy owners or takaful certificate owners, right? But we are also known as the resolution authority. Now, why we carry out these two roles from the public standpoint, the public needs to know that their deposits as well as their takaful certificates are protected in the case something happens, right? So that the depositing public as well as the policy and insurance certificate owners can have a peace of mind when they subscribe or purchase all these financial products. But when a financial institution fails, somebody would have to deal with that failure and ensure that those institutions, the failed institutions, are resolved. And the primary role in resolution really is, or the primary principles of resolution is to ensure that there's continued access to the deposits as well as the takaful coverage for the depositors as well as the certificate owners, right? And whatever actions that we take in respect of the failed institutions, we try to minimize the cost and not use taxpayers' money when we actually resolve those institutions. Why basically financial resolution of financial system is very important is that the prompt resolution itself will ensure that there's no contagion effect to the rest of the financial system, right? So if there is a failure, our key role is to ensure that we go in and resolve those institutions swiftly, and we isolate those problems so that it doesn't spread to the wider financial system. In respect of how this dual role comes into play and how it works, right? What generally happens is that, okay, we as depositors, we put money into our member banks, right? And we purchase insurance and takaful products from our insurance or takaful operators or takaful companies. These institutions will be paying levies to us, and that's how we build our funds to ensure that we can administer the deposit insurance system by protecting the depositors up to a certain limit, which I will explain a bit later. And at the same time, when we carry out our role as the resolution authority, we ensure that the financial institutions are resolved swiftly, and we are able to then contribute to financial stability. And that's where, when I mentioned at the start, or the topic of our session today, building resilience in the financial institutions or financial system, especially Islamic financial institutions, comes into play, whereby the financial safety net, particularly the last mile, when something happens, there is a mechanism as to how problematic financial institutions are resolved and the financial consumers are protected. And that's how we are able to build a resilient financial system, by having a proactive protection system and a resolution mechanism in place. How we protect you as financial consumers. Next slide. The system that we administer, as I mentioned, are distinct. Both we have for the deposit, called the deposit insurance system, and for the insurance side, we have the takaful and insurance benefit protection system, DIS for the deposits, and TIPS as we know it for the insurance side. For the banking side, or the DIS, deposits are protected up to a limit of 250,000 ringgit per depositor per bank. And currently we have, as you know, 46 banks, member banks, and basically these are commercial banks, as well as Islamic banks. We have 28 conventional commercial banks and 18 Islamic banks. For the takaful insurance benefit protection, or TIPS, we provide coverage for protection benefits or insurance benefits up to 500,000 ringgit Malaysia per policy or certificate owners. And currently we have 48 insurer members, consisting of 33 insurance companies and 15 takaful operators, right? So I will go into a bit more detail as to how the limits work and what it means. But basically, these are the limits and the protection system that is set out, and the scheme that is being done in Malaysia. In other countries, the protection coverage are quite similar. In the US, it's 250,000 USD. Similarly, in Singapore, is 250,000 Singaporean dollars. So how does this limit come about, we set the limit based on the number of the retail depositors that we protect, right? So with 250,000 ringgit limit, we are able to cover up to 97% of the depositors on average in Malaysia. The other 3% that we do not cover are basically those corporates or high net worth depositors. And why we do not have 100% coverage and it's similarly with all other jurisdictions around the world, the deposit insurance system do not provide 100% coverage or guarantee to deposit is due to the issue or the concept of moral hazard, right? So if we were to provide 100% guarantee or protection to the depositors, basically it will create a moral hazards whereby the banks knows that all their risk are already covered by the protection scheme or deposit insurance, and therefore it encourages them to take unlimited risk, right? So that is not what we want with regards to how to ensure a robust and resilient financial system. So with the limit, what will happen is that they will encourage market discipline onto the banking institution to ensure that their risk are properly managed, right? So that's the concept or the theory behind how the deposit insurance system around the world are set up. Similarly, for the takaful and insurance protection system, the limits are set out based on similar principles. For the resolution role or mandate, we generally do not explain this in our, if you have noticed or seen any of our advertising, if you go to the bank, or if you may have heard some of our radio advertisements, or even come across our TV advertisements, we don't specifically mention our role on resolution. But this is where actually how we are able to ensure that the depositors are really protected, or the takaful certificate holders are really protected. Resolution here does not necessarily mean we liquidate. The 250,000 limit applies particularly when financial institutions or banking institutions can no longer be resolved in any other means, and there's the least cost option for us is to actually wind up or close down that financial institution and put it into liquidation. If that happens, then the depositors will be reimbursed immediately up to 250,000 ringgit. However, anything over and above that will go through the liquidation process and can be recovered through the liquidation process. That may not be the most effective and cost-effective means to resolve financial institutions, especially the big institutions that we have in Malaysia, in the likes of Maybank, in the likes of CIMB, right? So we at PDM, as resolution authorities, we do also have other resolution powers or means to resolve that financial institutions. And the reason why we need to do so is to ensure that those institutions can be addressed in an orderly manner that minimizes the cost to the financial system. And we have a wide range of powers within our act. We can, and I'll explain that a bit more in a bit more detail, but the objective of our resolution is really to ensure that we are able to ensure financial stability, market confidence, as well as minimize the cost both to the financial system and the use of public funds. When I talk about the resolution powers here, as I mentioned briefly just now, we said there's two options. We can close down the bank, or known as a closed bank resolution option, or gone concern. This is where we will reimburse the depositors up to the limit of 250,000, right? And we only use this when there are no real viable options, because we generally see that the closure of a financial institution is the most disruptive, particularly to our depositors. The other option that we have, based on the powers that we have, is an open bank resolution. or a going concern resolution. This is where in PIDM Act, we have the power to carry out a number of open bank resolution options, including transferring the troubled or failed financial institutions to a private sector purchaser. We can restructure or recapitalize those financial banks or financial institutions, the banks, as well as the insurance and takaful operators. The other very unique or specific powers that we have is the bridge institution powers. This is where we can transfer the assets and liabilities of the failed bank or insurance or takaful operators into a bridge institution owned by PIDM. And we will continue to run that institution through the bridge institution, separate from the failed institution, and recover and resolve or rehabilitate the bank through the bridge institutions until we are able to find a buyer at the best or good value that basically protects the value of the banking in takaful operators' assets, right? So with these options of resolution powers, we are able to carry out the resolution in as much as possible through the most effective manner, and hopefully be able to do it in the least cost impact to the financial system. How we are able to carry out this resolution, we build the funds, as I mentioned just now, through collection of levies and premiums from our member institutions. From the banking side, we collect both from the conventional and the Islamic banks. And also for the insurance and takaful side, we collect from the 4 industry segments within the insurance and takaful industry. To ensure that we uphold the Sharia principles in management of our funds, we maintain 6 separate funds within PIDM. And we do not commingle these funds in respect of how we manage particularly investments. And for the Islamic funds, being the Islamic Deposit Insurance Funds, the Family Takaful Protection Funds, and the General Takaful Protection Funds, we ensure that those funds are managed in compliance with the Sharia requirements and principles, including ensuring investments in Sharia compliant investments, as well as the expenses are not in any of the non-Sharia compliant expenses. Yeah. The segregation of funds are also to ensure that there's no cross-subsidization in the event that a failure happens in any of the respective industry segments. So losses that happens in for Islamic banks, the losses will only be borne by the Islamic Deposit Insurance Fund and not be charged or borne or covered by the conventional deposit insurance funds. Again, this is not only to ensure that the Sharia principles are being adhered to, but also to ensure that the industry segments that are where the financial institutions are operating in bears the cost for the losses that happens. I will dive into a bit more detail about how the deposit insurance work now, or this. As I mentioned just now, we provide protection up to 250,000 ringgit per depositor per bank, and we will only reimburse if the bank fails and we put the bank into liquidation. How you want to know whether a bank are members of PIDM? You will see our decal. You can see the hard copy stickers if you go and walk into any of our member banks. You can also see the electronic copy of our decals on their digital or the banking website, electronic banking website, right? And you will also be able to see some of these in any of their advertisements in their brochures, right? Because these are part of our information regulation requirements for the banks and the insurance companies to publicize and to highlight which are the products which are protected by PIDM. And did you know that also the most recent edition of the digital banks are also members of PIDM, and they also enjoy similar protection by us? So we have the GX Bank, Boost Bank, Aeon, which is a Islamic bank, CAF Digital Bank, and Right Bank, also members of PIDM. And they are also similarly covered together with the rest of our existing traditional banking members. So the scope of coverage, before that, you should also know that basically our protection is automatic. There's no fees and there's no registration. So in the event of a banking failure, right, depositors do not need to do anything. What you do need to do is to ensure that your information at the banks are updated, so that in the event that we need to get in touch with you for purposes of reimbursement, all your latest information are up to date. And as a depositor, you need to know your rights in terms of your products that you subscribe and whether or not they are protected or not protected by PIDM. So not all financial products offered by the banking institutions, both for the conventional banks as well as the Islamic banks, are protected by PIDM. So giving examples of some of the products which are not protected by PIDM, particularly for the Islamic bank, includes the investment accounts products, deposit payable products at Labuan banks, deposits that are not payable in Malaysia, interbank money market placements, NIDs, repurchase agreements, unit trusts, as well as gold-related investment products, right? So your typical banking products, such as your saving accounts, current accounts, fixed deposits, foreign currency deposit accounts, Islamic deposit accounts, and bank drafts, which are tied to deposit accounts, are protected by PIDM. And what most people also don't know is that we actually provide separate protection coverage for individuals, joint account owners, trustees, companies, sole proprietors, and partnership. These are the business accounts. And I'll give a bit more illustration about how this coverage for specific or different separate protections, how it works, right? I've mentioned this earlier, why the limit. So 97% of depositors are covered in full under our reimbursement scheme, right? Or protection scheme. And if we are to have to do reimbursement, there are multiple payment channels that we are able to do so. We will reimburse particularly through Do It Now, right? We are able to also reimburse through IBG, and if those who are not into the digital payment system, we will reimburse traditionally via checks. Uninsured depositors, however, those are deposits above the limit, right, will need to file the balance of their claims of their deposit through the liquidator. So the idea of this system is to ensure that for most of us, the depositors, depositing public, where the 97% of depositors who are covered in full below the 250,000, they're able to get their money swiftly and promptly if the event that a banking institution fails, without having to wait through the liquidation process, which may take months or will generally take years for the liquidation process to happen for any institutions, particularly for banking institutions. So to give a bit more understanding as to how the protection system works, right? Next slide. 100 we have one example here where Mr. Chong has several deposits under his name in a single bank, in a particular bank, Bank A, right? So he has a savings account of 10,000, foreign currency savings account of 100,000, current account of 220,000, and fixed deposit of 80,000. And the total deposits within those accounts is 210,000. So because our protection limit is 250,000, Mr. Chong has a full coverage in Bank A, right? Next. So if Mr. Chong has several deposit accounts through a joint account, that will also get him a separate coverage from his personal account. Just now we talked about his personal account, 250,000 per bank, per depositor. If you have multiple accounts, it will be aggregated and the limit is 250,000. However, you can get separate coverage by having joint accounts. And in this case, if he has a joint account with his wife, Laura, in Bank A, he will also enjoy a separate coverage limit up to 250,000, right? So if he has another joint account with his son, yeah. So effectively, deposit account with the same bank can enjoy multiple coverage. And that's really where one of the key things that we like to share here, one of the misconception that most people have is that PIDM's coverage per depositor per bank is only limited to 250,000 and that's it, right? But as a depositor, in this case, the example of Chong, you would be able to enjoy a coverage more than the 250,000 if you're able to put those accounts, even with the same bank, in a few different types of accounts, right? This is how you are able to enjoy the wider coverage. And in this case, in the example of Chong, he's able to enjoy coverage of up to 1.35 million just by having those few different accounts. So in the case of Chong, because he's a non-Muslim, he's able to you have a conventional account with Bank ABC. Bank ABC has both, say, Islamic bank as well as a conventional bank. So both conventional and Islamic bank will be able to enjoy separate coverage. So Maybank Islamic and Maybank conventional has separate coverage. You will be also able to enjoy the separate coverage for the joint accounts, also for the sole proprietary partnership, as well as the business. Yeah. So understanding the coverage limits helps to diversify and protect the depositors with a bigger coverage. The other way, of course, to get a bigger coverage is to diversify your banking accounts with different banks. So the idea of this deposit insurance system is actually to ensure that you are able to diversify your products as well as your coverage, particularly with different banks, so that you do not put all your monies basically in one basket, right? Here, the system is to ensure that you are covered in the event a insurance company or takaful operator's failure. We've talked about deposits, and Dr. Shara mentioned, previously a lot of people keep their monies under the bed or in the house. We've even heard monies being kept in pipes because they're worried that under the bed or under the pillow people may find and they want to hide their money. But if something happens to the bank, if something happens to your monies kept outside of the banking system in your house, it will be lost. Insurance is slightly different, or takaful protection is slightly different. If it is a product to protect you, right? So in the event that if a peril happens, if you encounter, an accident, if you get into health situation and you do not have insurance protections or takaful protection, right? You may end up getting into financial trouble or financial strain purely because you are not able to withstand these financial shocks, right? And we've seen real life cases of this happening. So that's one of the reasons why we have insurance product and takaful products. Why many people don't have insurance or takaful products at this juncture still? There's still the perception that, next, financial insurance and takaful financial products are seen to be expensive and not important, right? And they don't see the benefit because the beneficiaries that will get it will be their beneficiaries, it will be their dependents. And for those who don't have dependents, they don't necessarily see the need that they have those benefits. Especially for those who are taking insurance benefits though, the coverage limit is slightly different as compared to the banks. So the banks, we talk about 250,000 ringgit, right? So for the insurance benefits, the next slide. Generally, the protection limit is up to 500,000 for most of the insurance policies benefits. But there are some products that we provide 100% protection, particularly for healthcare benefits and also refunds of prepaid contributions or premiums for the health and compulsory insurance. There are some that we do not provide coverage for, or products we don't provide coverage for, and these are the those takaful takaful certificate and insurance policies that we denominate in foreign currencies. Those coverage outside of Malaysia and surrender values payables in units of investment-linked products. So again, similarly with the deposit insurance system, it's important for you to understand how your protections or your insurance and takaful benefits are protected to ensure that you are able to have confidence and build and basically ensure that you have the confidence in the system and be able to promote the Islamic financial institutions. Next. So I've mentioned earlier about the limits. Generally is 550,000. We have the different types of benefits product that's protected. We have the death benefits. We have permanent disability, critical illnesses, medical claims, maturity values, surrender values, and loss of damage of properties. So generally, our limits is 500,000. However, for medical benefits and healthcare benefits, we protect 100% of the expenses incurred as per the policy that has been provided. Okay. The aggregation rule, I think I will not go into too much detail here, but basically I think you can see how the aggregation rule for the banks similarly applies to some extent for the insurance companies, but generally the policies are covered separately, so you do generally be able to enjoy the benefits of the insurance and takaful protection coverage overall separately. Yeah. Okay, next. Properties, right? Just now was an example from the life or family takaful side. Next. So the key message that we like to give here in respect of our protection system that we administer is that if there is a troubled institution and a banking institution or a takaful operator if you hear problems within the financial system, don't worry, right? Because we will come in to ensure that we are able to resolve those institutions and protect you all as the depositing public or the insurance policy holders or takaful certificate holders. If you need more information about your protection, please do get in touch with us at PIDM through our toll-free line or visit our website. If you hear rumors, please do not go to the bank to take out your money, because this can create what we call a bank run, and that bank run itself can create the failure of the banking institutions, because it will lead to liquidity problems for those banks, or banks or financial institutions, as how we saw SVB example just now, right? And do look forward to any announcements from PIDM from various platforms, print media, social media, or website, radio, and television to get more information or any updates on PIDM, right? So that's basically, in a nutshell, how PIDM provides and administer the protection system, and we are here to protect you. And with this protection system that we administer, we hope to ensure that we are able to build resilience within the financial system, particularly for the Islamic financial institutions, through the administering the Islamic deposit insurance system, as well as the takaful benefits protection system. I pause here if there's any questions, immediate questions.
Any question from the members, participants?
If not, kalau tak ada, I would like to invite my colleague to also talk a bit about financial scams. Now, the reason why we would like to touch a bit about this topic is that the most also hot topic that's happening in the financial world nowadays is particularly about financial scams, right? People getting scams from the banks, even from their investments, even on their insurance or takaful products, right? And even there are scams using authorities' name, including PIDM, right? They use Bank Negara's names, PIDM's names. So it's important for the public to generally know that how to pick up some of these scams and how to deal with it if you encounter it. So with that, let me pass the floor to Encik Fazli. Now, my apologies as well. I do need to excuse myself at about 3:45 or so. So if there's any questions in respect of my earlier presentation, my colleague Encik Fazli will be able to continue to take on that questions. But whilst I'm still around, if there's any questions in the chat, I will also facilitate to help to answer any of those questions. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Shara, for having me on board. So let me pass the floor now to my colleague, Fazli. Over to you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Encik Ram. You guys can hear me?
Yes, Encik Fazli, we can.
Okay, all right, that's good. Okay, so I'm just going to continue from here a bit on the financial scam. But if you have any particular question in relation to DIS, deposit insurance system, as well as tips, you can always put up in the chat. I will be able to answer that as well. Okay, for scam, I think we all know it's quite trending nowadays, and it has been doubled over the past 5 years. If you look at the statistics here, 37,000 scam cases were reported in 2023. And on average, meaning 100 scams per day, or a losses of 4.5 million in a daily losses. So meaning every day, there's about 100 people gonna scam, and the losses out of that is about 4.5 million. And the most popular industry that these scammers are zooming into these two type of area, which is telecommunication and also e-commerce. So these two are the most common scam among scammers lah. Okay. So there are also other type of scam, which are e-finance, non-existent loan, non-existent investment, and interestingly, love scam quite pick up lah nowadays lah. When we met with our PDRM friends, they have been talking about this love scam, because nowadays people become lonely, they have a lot of like mental stress and all that. So that's why you seen a lot in the news, grandmother being scammed from the African love scam, those kind of news lah. So it's quite interesting. And so happen they targeting this group of people because of course they are lonely, they are single, they have a lot of money, and they need it for attention. So that's why it's quite alarming lah. So next. So the digital hygiene among Malaysia. So this one is from the Bank Negara Financial Capability and also Inclusion Survey. So this survey is actually measure knowledge, behavior, and also attitude. So this to show that still people sharing password and also PIN. So they pay attention to the security is about 39%. Okay. And then regularly change password. So now it's about 20%. So of course the awareness slightly improve, but then the behavior is still lacking lah, right? Okay, so from here, if you look at this point, fewer people now share their password, but 1 in 10 Malaysians still do. So some of you thought like, okay, I'm sharing my password with my wife, with my husband, or even with my friends. So please don't do that. If possible, don't do that. Okay. So talking about type of financial scam, so apart from the statistics just now, these are the most common one also. Loan scam, fraud, scratch and win. So they given you some sort of like a paper for you to scratch and then win something. Mule account is also quite popular among university students, which I'll go through with you guys later. E-commerce scam, investment scam, phone love scam, and also there are also scam like Encik Ikram mentioned just now, misusing PIDM's name and also logo. So this is where most probably, I don't know, you could also be the next victim. Okay, just be careful. Okay, and even like in fact, if you're aware nowadays, quite popular also, they give you some sort of like tumbler in front of your house, then for you to scan the QR code at that tumbler. So you thought that you win something. Of course, they give you first lah. Then when you scan, then something happen lah. They can just get your info and your data from your phone. So just be careful. So don't simply click or scan or even answer call from whoever that you don't even know lah. Okay. So now is about the Mule account. So if you know Mule account, for Bahasa Malaysia we call it account keldai. So it's occur when your bank account is being used by others. So then that account been used for other illegal transaction, like it could also be money laundering, sale of any other things that is illegal and things like that. So I'm just want to share one real case example from my sister-in-law. Before this, she's staying in Kedah, okay, and then so happened her neighbor wanted to borrow her account. So her neighbor is also a makcik lah, a makcik wanted to borrow her account just for a while for money transfer and all that. So she thought like it's okay lah, I just lend my account to this makcik just for transfer or something to buy something lah. So happened after just that borrowing happened on that day, 7 years later, when my sister-in-law moved to KL already, and then she just got a call from police PDRM, and that her account being used for illegal transaction, which is drug smuggling. So she need to go to Kedah again, back, and then attend a court hearing and prove that she's not guilty lah. And of course, because of that, she need to pay some sort of like a fine or something like that. So just be careful. Provided that she's okay lah, that she proven that she's not guilty. So that's on her. But nowadays, the rule is a bit more stricter. So PDRM is looking very strictly into this kind of like cases. So like I said, it's quite popular among university students. You can just get 200, 300 ringgit per month by renting your account to a stranger. But then the implication, it could be like you may lose the opportunity to get a job after you graduated. That's one. And there's also possibility that for you to be jailed. So just be careful on that. Okay. So this is the how the mule account works. They just find somebody, potential victim. They promise you a good reward. Then of course they misuse your account, transfer here and transfer there. Then so happen your account become a mule account. Then when fraud detected, then there you go. So of course it's not you. It's not the scammers who will be caught. It's you are the one who will be caught by the PDR police or wherever the authority. Okay, so anyone who have maybe real scam cases you want to share, but of course lah, I'm sure nobody want to share. Okay, it could be a job, it could also be a service, or it could be an assistant. So I know most of you guys are the university students. You guys may be looking for a job. So just be careful. But nowadays there's a lot of scammers involving jobs. Okay, and don't deposit money. Before you deposit your money or bank into anybody, just check. For example, like nowadays, people may just make it like Maybank to you. So you never know, is it really Maybank to you? Or maybe the A is a bit different, or Maybank to you, then the U got some sort of like apostrophe at the end of it. So just make sure, double check that the address is correct. Okay. So don't click on suspicious web link received through your SMS or email, and don't ever download any apps or from any platform that you are not familiar with. Okay, and then rent or hand over your bank account or ATM to a third party. Same case like my sister-in-law. And then don't disclose personal banking information or PIN number or password to third parties. So I'm sure if I ask you guys, I'm sure many of us here, if you guys have anything on password related, normally people save in your account, in your phone, right? If you are using iPhone, it could be in your notes, right? So although your iPhone is secured, you got password protected and all that. So just make sure that don't store all these password information into the notes. So just be careful on that. Just imagine one day suddenly your phone got stolen, lost or somewhere, everything is gone. So not just your information, but all your passwords, they will be able to hack into all your details, all your banking account and all that. Okay, all right. So if let's say any one of you here has been scammed by a scammer and you're not sure where to call, so please, you can call this NSRC, National Scam Response Center. So this is a center that's set up by PDRM, Bank Negara Malaysia, as well as MCMC. Okay, there's a hotline that you can call immediately for them to stop the transaction from moving or spreading further. So for now, as far as I know, a recent conversation with the BDRM, they said that about less than 20% scam cases they will be able to stop. Whereas the rest of the balance of like 80% of the cases that they call is quite late lah. So when it's late, and of course they cannot do anything lah, because if you know, I think you all aware, if let's say your money are being transferred to scammers, the transaction is like spider web, and it spread like very fast into first layer, second layer, or even third layer. So the moment it reached to second or third layer, there's no way that you're going to get back your money, right? So as soon as possible that you got, let's say you feel that you can scam, okay, call 997 or even call your bank directly and immediately go and make a police report. Okay. Any other question if you have? Okay. So talking about financial scam, of course, there's a misuse of PIDM's name and also logo. So a lot, these are the few examples that we receive, like non-existent loan, non-existent investment scheme. So a lot of people, like they said, when they call PIDM, because PIDM also have a call center, when they call PIDM, they said that, oh, I have banked in money to PIDM. Can I get back my money? Because they are so desperate. Like, for example, certain people, they apply loan through Facebook. Okay. So when they apply loan through Facebook, these scammers say that, okay, you have to bank in 5,000 ringgit to PIDM. Then only we reimburse your loan. Something like that. So they all like so desperate, they just bank in 5,000 hoping to get additional loan for them. But so happened that when they bank in, they didn't really notice that when they bank in, is bank into personal account, bank into company account and all that. So like I said, PIDM, we don't require you to apply, register, and also to pay for anything, because PIDM's protection is free and automatic, and it doesn't require any registration. Okay, all right. Any questions so far? Before I move to my last slide. So far, okay. If you have any question in relation to deposit insurance system, can also ask me. Okay. So before I end, I have one video just to share. Okay, so this is a information video about our protection. So it's just a 2-minute video. Okay.
It's a day at work like any other for Edwin. The great thing about Edwin is his positivity. There's no such thing as Monday blues in his dictionary. Until... Looks like Edwin wasn't the only one who got the message on ABC Bank. The rumor about ABC Bank has caused a bank run. What is a bank run? A bank run happens when many customers of a bank withdraw all their deposits at the same time. So what can lead to a bank run? Fear of losing savings. Rumors about a bank becoming bankrupt. Low confidence in the bank's ability to continue doing business. People may also start to withdraw savings from their other banks and cause a spillover effect. As a result, banks may run out of cash. Banks can collapse or become bankrupt due to bank runs caused by large withdrawals made by panicked customers, even though the banks are actually financially stable. It disrupts livelihoods, causes inconvenience, and brings financial ruin for many people and businesses. For example, loss of savings, interrupted payments, no access to loan requests, and job losses. In other countries, bank runs are real incidents that have caused some banks to go bankrupt. Keep calm. PIDM has got you covered. Perbandanan Insurance Deposit Malaysia, or PIDM, is the government authority that protects your deposits in member banks. In the event a bank goes bankrupt, your deposits are protected. This protection is free. No sign-ups, no fees. So, if you ever hear that a PIDM member bank is in trouble, stay calm. Don't act on the rumor. Check the facts with PIDM directly. PIDM can deal with a member bank that is in trouble in many ways to ensure that you have continued access to your bank deposit. PIDM may continue the bank's business by taking over the bank's functions, or PIDM may also restructure the bank to ensure it is healthy again, or sell or transfer the bank to another bank. If PIDM has to close a member bank, we will pay depositors back their deposits up to 250,000 ringgit per depositor per member bank as soon as possible. You do not need to apply or make a claim. PIDM will reimburse your eligible deposits based on the bank's records. There are a few reimbursement options at this point of time. You may receive your reimbursement by interbank transfer, including Do It Now or IBG or by check payment. Do It Now is the most convenient reimbursement option. In the meantime, what can you do as a depositor? Consider having more than one bank account at different banks. And if you haven't already, sign up for online banking with your banks and register for Do It Now with your MyCard details as your proxy. Also, keep your contact details up to date with your banks. Most importantly, stay connected with us if you want to know more about PIDM and how we keep your deposits safe. Remember PIDM, remember protection.
All right. I hope you guys got a bit of like overview how does the PIDM's protection work. So basically, it's quite easy. It's quite simple. So just remember PIDM. Remember protection. Our protection is automatic. There's no fee and no registration. So if you want to find out more about PIDM, you can also go through our website, our social media, and also you can also even call us. Okay, if I may ask if you guys have any question.
Yeah, any question? Or maybe I can start the question first, Encik Fazli?
Yes, I also wanted to ask if the audience can also uh, fill up this survey. I'm just gonna paste it here at the chat. Okay, this is a QR code.
Bukan scam, Encik Fazli?
Bukan scam, ni betul-betul ya.
Sebab tadi kata
Okay.
jangan scan sembarangan kan?
Sembarangan. This is from legit source. Then it should be okay, right?
Okay,
Okay.
my question is, so we are okay that depositor, kita punya duit deposit ni semua save lah with PIDM kan? I mean, most of us, kita ni dapat gaji bulan-bulan, and then we don't really have much cash in our saving accounts. But we do have like some people keep their money in tabung haji, ASB, or even some leverage their money savings into Miga goal, public goal, and whatnot. But we understand from your presentation and Encik Ikram presentation is that those
Yeah.
are not bank members of PIDM.
Correct.
So, what will happen to that? If anything happen to tabung haji or ASB or maybe the banks, but bank ni, it's a member bank. Tapi kalau goal semua tu dia tak, of course, dia tak cover, right? Correct me if I'm
Betul.
wrong. So,
Betul.
what is your opinion on this, and what should we do as a consumer to protect our interest in that as well?
Okay, of course, when we talk about that investment, so-called investment, there's a risk lah. There's a risk. So when we save money, of course, yang PIDM protects are all the one yang under FSA and also IFSA. So those, the one yang you mentioned tadi, for example, like gold, public gold and all that. So those are organizations that are not member of PIDM. So they are like public mutual, CIMB investment, those things lah. So diorang memang bukan member of PIDM lah. So they are not protected. So the best is satu, of course, you have to assess your risk lah. And then the second thing, you can also check with them whether they would be able to provide some sort of like guarantee or some sort of like protection for your investment. But normally, as far as I know, investment definitely dealing with risk. And in terms of the Islamic, of course, the principle doesn't allow for a guaranteed kind of thing lah, unless it's like profit sharing kind of thing lah kan. So for now, it is not protected lah under PIDM. Memang kena check back with them lah, unless they provide separate protection. Yeah.
Right, thank you, Cik Fazli. Any other
Yes.
questions, please?
I put the QR. Maybe you guys can just scan and also click the link if in case you won't be able to scan lah. That's the link there. Okay, any other question on BIS or tips or anything about scam? Last time I dekat UIA sekali dengan Dr. Norma. Is Dr. Norma still there?
Yeah, Prof. Norma is still
Oh,
here.
Norma still there. Okay, alright.
Assalamualaikum. Dr. Syara,
Waalaikumsalam.
saya ada soalan.
Yes, please.
Okay, saya Puan Syarina from IBF. Cik Fazli, I just want to have macam your tips lah, because apa ni kadang-kadang sometimes banks ni dia call us, right?
Yeah.
But macam mana kita nak make sure the call tu is authentic or not? Sebab I know that sometimes when we install the apa tu the Truecaller, something like that, and then they put there it's a scammer, tapi bila I ada one time tu the same number keep calling me, tapi dia appear scammer, you know. So when I return call, actually that is the memang bank punya call. It's
Oh.
authentic call. So
Hmm.
how to identify, Cik
So
Fazli? Thank you.
the best I can advise you can install yalah other than the Truecaller tu is Who's Call kan. That's also another apps lah Who's Call. So that one
Who's
is
call?
also PDRM punya apps lah. Because that one memang apa tu they have some sort of like collaboration lah.
I see.
So you can also find out lah from that apps. At least it can also help you lah whether to find out whether there is a real caller or not lah. But there's
Alright,
also
thank
like you
you.
know nowadays the AI punya thing is quite trending. Okay, so if let's say lah kalau call from somebody yang you tak dikenali, yang you didn't know the number, you don't speak first. Because nowadays there's also a trend where this scammer using your AI voice to record. Like for example, when you pick up the call, then you just jawab hello, hello, hello. They already know your tone of voice, so it's recorded. So they can manipulate your voice into somebody else lah, which is your voice lah, into a scam tactics lah. So let them speak first, then baru you talk lah. Okay.
Thank you, Cik Fazli. We have one question in chat box from Sharifah Nadia.
Yes.
She asking is, I'm wondering about the process of claiming for the coverage. How long does the depositor have to wait before reimbursement by PIDM?
Okay. Thank you, Cik Sharifah. Okay. So basically, PIDM, if you look through our act, our reimbursement says is within 3 months period. Okay. So if let's say bank failure is on is ni, then within 3 months we have the right to reimburse you within 3 months. So if let's say above 3 months, you can have the right to sue PIDM lah kalau lambat. But like Encik Ikram mentioned just now about the do it now thingy, you guys are encouraged and highly recommended to have a do it now. I'm sure everybody have a do it now already. Using a proxy, which is your ID of IC rather than phone number. So reason why, if let's say there is a bank failure, there's a reimbursement that we need to make a reimbursement. Okay, then we are using the do it now to make payout as soon as possible. So the system to cater, like for example, the announcement of the bank is on Friday, Jumaat, and then by Monday you'll be able to get back your money already as soon as that. And then of course lah, there's also another tier that kita reimburse, let's say deposit of more than certain amount. There's also through check, through interbank transfer and things like that lah. But the one yang within that particular tier, kita akan buat through do it now.
So you don't need to have another bank account. So
Hmm.
it's sufficient for you to register your do it now, right?
Yes, do it now.
Any other question? Or maybe we can take a group photo while waiting for
Oh, okay,
the
can.
question to come in. Maybe everybody can switch on their video. Zul boleh tolong ambil gambar?
Okay, boleh. So for the others, you can switch on your video. Okay, we have our page here. Okay, we take picture for the first page. Okay, wait for the others to open the video. Okay, for the first page. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, next for the second page. Okay, stand by. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brother Zul. Okay, is there any other further question?
Like a bit, just sharing a bit on like macam PIDM, like if you guys maybe looking at different jurisdiction also like macam Philippines and all that. PIDM kita buat this risk assessment, meaning we work closely dengan bank negara to find out that this particular bank, what are their risk profile. So if the bank yang very high risk profile, they need to pay us highest premium, highest level of premium. And then the bank yang very good risk profile, they pay us lowest premium. So then the reason why is so that when they improve their risk rating to, let's say, from tier 4 to tier 1, 1 is the best. So meaning the tendency for them to fall into bankruptcy is very highly unlikely lah, as compared to those in tier 3, tier 4. So they are like very risky. Of course, you're gonna bayar macam you lah. Personally, if let's say you have some existing disease, if you want to buy insurance from your insurance company, of course they will charge you a bit like loading and things like that lah. So similarly, those things works for us lah from PIDM. So PIDM, when we do this risk profiling, risk minimizer kind of like approach, it's also different from other country. Other country they don't have this risk monitoring, risk assessment kind of thing. They orang just collect duit from the bank. If let's say the bank tutup, they just reimburse just like that. So they don't do like intervention, a resolution kind of thing like macam Ikram mentioned just now lah. So it's a bit different. So how often does PIDM review or revise our protection limit? So we review like every 5 years. So far, like he mentioned in the slide earlier, so our protection cover 97% of the depositors in full, meaning all of us, including me, have less than 250,000 in the bank. So only the one yang 3% have more than 250 in the bank lah. Those 3% ni like all the tycoon, the billionaire, the Ananda Krishna, the all the tauke lah. So they have about more than 250 in the bank, and of course they are protected differently. They have their own financial planner, accountant to advise them on what's the best to put up money here and there lah. But so far, majority of us are protected in full. Okay, any other question? Thank you, Zoraini, for asking.
Any other question, guys? All right, so if we don't have any further question, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I think Cik Fazli, we have now come to the end of our today's special talk. So on behalf of IBF, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Cik Ikram and Cik Fazli for your insightful presentation and valuable contributions. So Alhamdulillah, all of us are very much confident that our money are protected by PIDM. So thank you, PIDM, and to all of the participants for your engagement throughout the session. So we hope today's discussion has provided us with a deeper understanding in how we can ever trust our Islamic financial and takaful company as a whole. So this can actually help to ensure the resilience of our financial institution. Please don't keep your money under the mattress or even in the fridge. Okay, so if you have any further question, you can always reach to us. And thank you once again. And wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let us end our discussion with tasbih kifayah surah Mas. Thank you, Cik Fazli. Assalamualaikum. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Waalaikumsalam. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shara. Bye. Assalamualaikum.